see these slides, even as primitive as they might be, one man out of billions, right? I don't think this is something to look away from. I don't think that I should look away from what might be my greatest talent. As I was told by a friend who doesn't like a lot of my information, he looks at this stuff and he's like, dude, you need to stay with this. The world doesn't understand yet, but it's not about you and your ego and now. It's about future generations understanding what you figured out. And so I do appreciate that feedback, even though we are no longer friends. But I do recall a little bit of support, but a lot of people just don't understand what I'm getting at. And some people have been afraid that this has been a cover for demonic activity, sun worship. Some people have really attacked me over the years for bringing you this information. It's like they're not even trying to understand that what I'm saying is that I feel I recognize the pattern. When the sun is more active, the elite of the world stage events. And I have never seen others in the independent alternative media get into a science of when they stage their events. I've really just seen very naive predictions, acting like they have the hour, the time figured out. And it's like, I'm not saying I know the exact hour of the day. I don't. I know that we can identify patterns, though, when they stage events. So I'm not predicting when the end of the world ends or begins. If someone says that the upcoming war and occupation of America during sunspot cycle 25, which is what I'm projecting, if they're saying that's the end of the world, they're just paraphrasing how they view the event. I'm not predicting the end of the world in the 2020s. I'm predicting some karmic return to the United States. Big difference. Some of you know the difference. Some do not. To a lot of people, right, where the world centers around them, it is the end of the world if America is invaded. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. So what I'm predicting has nothing to do with a man knowing the hour of the time. I'm not going there. I'm saying that I do believe that my understanding of the patterns is knowledge that others can use, and that we can see that the world is coming up on the pivotal point, war. We look at the events of North Korea that will lead to a Russia-China involvement if the U.S. strikes North Korea, or if North Korea is being used by China or Russia to strike the United States later to be a part of even the invasion. And then we look at other countries, Iran, and what role will Saudi Arabia have with selling American women? So I've looked at this forecast of where we're going, and I'm the only man that talks about geopolitics and solar flares and off-grid living and psychic defense against the entities all in the same breath. And so I encourage those of you to support my work, because if you choose to do so, whether in a large sum or a small sum, what you're doing is not just helping me, you're helping others receive the information. So realities that we really need to face. Some humans are more insusceptible to influence than others and seek liberation mentally, spiritually, physically. Other humans are easier to influence and naturally take commands. Human beings that are out of alignment with their own truth are the most susceptible to having their perceptions and emotions used against them. Think about Facebook addicts. Not all of the Facebook addicts are successful, having been or am a Facebook addict, I guess, but I do try to keep my page deactivated. Today is an exception because I have a car emergency and I haven't received help on that yet. But at least I'm home, so it's not really an emergency. So Facebook and other internet addictions, YouTube addictions to the comment section. Not to knock anyone that likes to comment on YouTube, but there is an addiction element that some people have to where it becomes their life, that the YouTube comment section, what goes down there, whether someone's blocked or not, or fake, these become like real realities to people, like a virtual reality. And so you can become susceptible to mind control by the elite if you become an internet addict and you lose your spiritual center. That is my message to you. We will continue to exist in a reality where the forces of darkness use members of our own society as cannon fodder as long as there is a pool of susceptible minds willing to be directed into action by authority or the archons. So this is, I've repeated my warnings and how I see the remainder of the solar cycle going. This was from 2013. And the next slide gets into World War III. Okay, so from 2013, looking at the future, I could see a coming new fabricated external and internal threats. Manufactured civil war over gun rights, that's how it appeared at the time. I saw the government, even the threats, Obama, almost seemed to be baiting gun owners and others into reactionary tough guy talk. Someone take it. I remember like spending time warning those guys that, they first of all weren't impressing me as tough guys and seemed to be arguing with Facebook and the news. Kind of odd. That type of manufactured civil unrest dialogue was real. War with Obama over guns circa 2013, 2014. And perhaps that was manufactured to draw out those internet tough guys to start stating their arsenal. I couldn't believe how people were reacting on Facebook to talks of gun control. It's like, dude, you got a gun, fine. But like your penis, keep it in your pants. What are you taking pictures of your gun on your bed? Obviously, somebody's compensating. Obviously, somebody wants to look tough. Anyway, we're not just to women. A lot of men like to look tough to other men. And I'll tell you what, homie, don't play that. That stuff just does not. Fake ass tough guyness does not work on me. The current game plan for the remainder of this cycle. Men that have the bravery to speak against the racism and the genocide impress me when they do it publicly. Not men that say whatever their audience wants to say, wants to hear them say. No, those are little boys. There's little boys running around on YouTube acting like they're men. All right, let's stay on point. I've already mixed way too many topics. I mean, again, you come to the Alex Ansary bar, you're going to get the Alex Ansary bartending style of drink. It's going to have a little of this. It's going to have your infused vodka. Going to have a little bit of this, cinnamon whiskey, with a little bit of cream to go on it, maybe a little bit of this. So, looking at the world's future and solar flares and false flags from the perspective of 2013 continuing. Launch new proxy wars, conflicts, military interventions in Africa, Middle East, and Asia. Okay, pause. What's going on right now? Did I hit the nail on the head? Or did I hit the nail on the head? I'm sitting here, little old Alex Ansary, no support back in 2013 of any kind. Much more support now. Little old Alex Ansary sitting in the yurt, you know what I mean? Twiddling my thumbs, trying to raise $15 a month, something like ridiculous like that, from an audience that was telling me, go back to the grid, you bum. And here I am putting this knowledge together in a part of America living off the grid where you can't even live there off the grid anymore unless you're rich and can afford a septic system. So not only did I put this together in Costilla County, I put it together in a county where you can't even do that anymore, live there anymore on property without a $10,000 septic. So I was literally putting together this information in the land before time that literally in a period of time became the Forbidden County. So for me, there's this emotional response to where I was at the moment on the earth when I put these words together. In a world where there's millions of books and so many, David Icke tells you about his trillions of words. He's got it all figured out. Yeah, and all those trillions of words, not one mention of how the elite use this, the most obvious thing that there is, using examples like 9/11, using examples like Fukushima, where there may have been weather weapons used when there was a solar flare, Katrina, and just like Hurricane Irma. Use economic crisis to further globalize world economies and sell off critical assets to global partners in crime. These actions aim to further weaken basic infrastructure. We'll talk about psychic attack. You guys are going to love this one. How do you like this art? I put out like a memo on Facebook saying that I was looking for a volunteer to bring some images together. And a person emerged. And then after making this, I found myself blocked. Blocked by a person that offered to make art. Psychic attack. They got inside him. They turned him against me. Agenda for Sunspot Cycle 25, 2021 to 2025. Manufacture mass event that turns the world against the U.S. That could be an attack on North Korea. Apparently, the massive death toll in the Middle East isn't that event that turns the world against the United States, right? Because those other countries are part of the massive death toll in the Middle East. We're talking something big. We're talking strike on Iran or strike on North Korea. Some people believe it's more likely Iran, not North Korea. I want to talk to you about North Korea a little bit, by the way, if you are listening. I know Sam, who's a subscriber. I'm going to give you my perspective. I'm not going to rip and read from InfoWars or the other analysts, unless, of course, I happen to agree with the report. But it won't be from InfoWars. But my take is that they're trying to numb us with the North Korean threat. Numb, 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 numb. So people just tune out and go, la, 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 la. I think there's danger in going, la, 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 to the point where you don't want to know anything at all. That's bad. So it seems like we're being hit with psychological warfare to be afraid. They're crying wolf about World War III, right? And they're setting the stage for World War III. But when the real threat comes, just like those screaming Islamic invasion when there is no Islamic invasion, they're helping by crying wolf to shut down the consciousness of American women, American men that just don't want to be lied to anymore and told to be afraid by fake threats. So when the real rape threat comes, when these armies come, when the war comes, when people are trafficking little girls here in the United States, they already like numb people with Pizzagate and other false notions of caring about the children. Okay, if people really care about the children and white women, they need to be looking closer at my warnings. But so many white supremacists will not, because they don't really care about the children. They don't really care about their own, what they believe is their own, right? They talk about women like their property. Right. So we're not right now at a level of consciousness on the earth where people are either sharing my information en masse. We have a small number of individuals that believe my work is worth expanding. And it's in the 30s right now. That's great. If we can get that number to the hundreds, I'm at the level where I have enough money where I can travel the nation and interview people. If we get to the point where 100 of you are subscribing to my work, right? 100 of you. There has to be at least $1,000 a month coming in for there to be 500 a month for travel expenses, because we need at least 300 or 400 to pay the bills back on the land. So if we can get you $1,000 a month, if I can get you $1,000 a month and get your support to go from 30 people a month to 100 people a month and growing, then maybe I can travel the nation doing a documentary film. But until that day comes, what I have here to work with is what I have here to work with. That includes broadband. That includes live stream being interrupted. That includes all the other shortcomings. Nothing's going to change unless I'm able to make a major leap forward with this knowledge information. It's you, the audience, that can propel me forward. I can only do so much on my own. This is not cult building. I'm in the business of warning souls, because they're trying to entrap souls in America. Not only to stay in the soul matrix, but to entrap human beings on a less spiritual note, to entrap Americans, to trick Americans as they sick Russia and China on them in the future and their daughters. And where will the daughters end up after all this? As we see these solar cycles literally bring the end of the US, will they be off world? Will they be somewhere else? Will they be just simply in China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia? I think there's a larger agenda for what is coming to the Earth and what is coming to Mars, because there is a long-term plan beyond this projection. This is not the end of the world. People are going to wish it's biblical and it's the end of the world. It's actually the beginning of a transformation of what it means to be human and what is a human. So steer away from those people that are telling you that we're already in the age of Aquarius, or that we're enlightened, all is real, all is love. There are many deceivers amongst us. And I think I'm going to come back in another stream. I'm going to go ahead and stop now and talk about how elements of the New Age movement, women like Michelle Walling, distort solar flare research by only having people on that talk about the solar flares that are mixing the solar flare idea with the idea of ascension and fake prediction dates of ascension. She was predicting a wave X to sweep over the earth, along with a guy named Simon. And I even messaged Simon. It sounded like he ignored me. The stuff coming out of Simon's mouth sounded like plagiarized information from my own presentation. Kind of ironic that Simon had nothing to say to me. But New Agers distort the information of the sun by discussing solar flares with global enlightenment. while all of them steer clear of